Welcome to yet another EPALE Newscast airing live for you today. My name is Andrea, and it is my pleasure to kick off this episode, titled Adult Learning and Education Goes International. And you will see just why in a minute. But first, let me give you some news from the European capital so that you get your month starting with some fresh news. So the European Commission is carrying out the evaluation of its biggest initiative in education so far, the European education area. Running from 2020 to 2025, this initiative aims to give new boost to collaboration between member states in Europe and stakeholders in the sectors to build more resilient and more inclusive national education systems. Now they're carrying out their midterm review. It kicked off with an event in October where stakeholders were also invited to present their views on what's working, what's not working with the education area. And to achieve the goals of reviewing progress of the education area, we're very excited to invite all European stakeholders in education and training to take part in the EU Lifelong Learning Stakeholders Forum, organized by the Lifelong Learning Platform ourselves. In partnership with the European Commission, we really aim to give a voice to civil society practitioners, educators, and so on, as a consultation in view of this midterm review of the education area. It will take place on the 27th of November, and this event will kick off the Lifelong Learning Week 2023. Titled Key Competences for All, a lifelong learning approach to skills, it will fit very well with the ongoing European Year of Skills. So make sure to hop on the website and sign up for this. Which brings us to the news from EPALE. What's on our platform that you really cannot miss? So first of all, almost a month has passed since the EPALE Community Conference took place. It was a wonderful opportunity to celebrate the ongoing change, growth, and evolution behind adult learning and education in Europe. So if you want to re-experience the most memorable moments for the conference, we have a video for you.
Hello everybody and welcome. I'm excited to be opening the 2023 EPALE Community Conference.
Dear friends, dear EPALE friends, it's absolutely a great pleasure to be here and open the 6th EPALE Community Conference.
With the ongoing Year of Skills, it's now a special moment where skills are in the spotlight. And I would like to say that they will be so for a very long time, because actually skills define who we are, who we want to be.
And hello, colleagues in Ireland. Hello.
Steve Goktina. Hello, everyone. And hi, Tamsin. It's Mark from EPALE, and I've got kind of team members here from different sectors as well.
Technology is changing so quickly that we need to be able to be much more adaptive and flexible. This includes in learning, but in our jobs. So the importance, again, of lifelong learning, being able to gain those skills and competencies necessary as these new technologies are coming at a much more rapid rate.
The change is incredibly fast, but our responses also need to be incredibly fast. And so this is a real challenge. So we need agility. And the only way to do this is to work in partnership. So the solutions are shared responsibilities, because no one actor can deliver the responses alone.
We really need integrated policies. Skills should be a part of the solution. We cannot rely only on the skills and then we can solve this issue.
The technology is being developed by kind of a happy few. So in order to increase the diversity and the reach, we need to reduce this monopoly. And this means helping startups and other small and medium-sized businesses around the world to get off their feet and to be able to become part of the global AI landscape, including in a number of developing countries.
I tend to think that the A for AI is not artificial intelligence, but first of all, it's average intelligence.
All of the, let's say, partial solutions that are out there, like media literacy, digital literacy, fact-checking, debunking, providing context, it's all important and we should definitely not stop doing it. But what is often overlooked is that all these partial solutions are kind of addressing only the rational part of our brain. And we like to see ourselves as rational actors, but we're not. We are social creatures, we are emotional creatures.
Humanism has to do with the dignity of human beings. Human beings are fantastic beings, as I said. We have freedom, and freedom is both a gift, but it's also a burden, because it means that we need to make decisions about how to go forwards in our lives. But we constantly create systems, you could say, and we create these systems to help us. But very often these systems then become counterproductive.
It wasn't until I started university that I actually discovered that especially women from working class, that we were a study subject, that we were actually considered a vulnerable group.
Actually, what I try to do when teaching and when working in for theatre with people in prison is turn that narrative around and say, listen, for example, when I start a new class, I always say, listen, you can learn a lot from me, but I can learn at least as much from you as you from me. And you can learn a lot from the others. That's the peer-to-peer learning that's going on.
I often quote the Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want. And for me, that's exactly what democracy is about. Of course, we care about the freedom of all human beings, but we know that freedom is not unlimited. But the democratic work is then to see which of these desires can we carry collectively and which not.
I'm definitely an optimist because I think there's been this rise in global consciousness about the ethical issues around artificial intelligence, and that we want artificial intelligence to be developed for the greater human good.
We will see you on the EPALE platform interacting in the year, but we will see you again next year for the next EPALE Community Conference. Thank you all and goodbye.
And I'm sure that we will see you next year for the next EPALE conference. If you missed this one, on EPALE you'll find the recordings of the 3 plenary sessions that took place over 3 days. So make sure to have a look on those. What else can you find on EPALE? We have a series of 2 blog posts written by our friends and members of the EAEA on adult learning and women's empowerment across the globe. This series examines a few case studies to understand the power of adult learning from a gender perspective that, dare I say, it's a bit underestimated in the sector. So make sure to have a look on those. Another blog post, a recent one by the EPALE expert Loris Vergolini, provides an overview of skills mismatch and changing skills, highlighting the crucial role of lifelong learning in this. And speaking about how current global crises affect us all, make sure to read the latest community stories where Damien Amichaud, EPALE expert and member from France, reflects on how tangible are the effects on the environmental crisis on our everyday life. This is truly a mind-bending exercise. You might want to read this one. Okay, let's finish off this first part with some practical news. Not so much what's on the platform, but what the platform can do for you and what you can do for EPALE. And actually, there's a lot you can do for EPALE. We really want to hear from you. What do you like the most about it? Is EPALE in line with your expectations? How do you see it changing over time? Is it really meeting its goals? What can we do to improve? Share your opinion with us and take the 2023 survey. It's an important exercise to let EPALE colleagues know really where you would like the platform to go. At the end of the day, this is a platform for its members and users. So make sure to have a look at the survey and share your opinion. And EPALE has got something for you as well. We got a brand new app with new features, improvements, a fresh look. It makes it possible to easily browse and consult the platform's content and updates from smartphones, from tablets. It's free of charge, of course, easy to use, and represents a part of the European Commission's commitment to supporting and empowering the adult education community. Also digitally, it fits very well with the digital transition and with the current European Year of Skills. You might have seen that on EPALE we have new badges. that started to appear here and there next to usernames on EPALE. From now on, our most active users will be celebrated as community heroes. Make sure to hop on EPALE to check this new feature and try to get your badge by contributing to the platform. I should check if I got mine. I was promised one, but I'm not sure it arrived. This is part of the EPALE efforts to really reward the community here. This first part with some news, it's over, which brings us to the main topic of today's newscast. And as we mentioned at the beginning, it's titled Adult Learning and Education Goes International, because we want to shed light on international practices that support adult learning and education, the policy framework that enable learners around the world. And we have a guest to help us do it. I'm pleased to welcome on board Nicolas Jonas from the UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning. Welcome, Nicolas.
Thank you, Andrea, and good morning to all.
The Institute for Lifelong Learning of UNESCO is based in Hamburg, and it organizes the CONFINTEA conference. So it's an international conference on adult education. It's the French acronym, to bring together ministries, civil society, other key stakeholders in adult learning and education to discuss new frameworks for global adult learning and education. This is one of those once-in-a-lifetime highlights because it takes place every 12 years. And the last meeting gave us a framework for action that is called the Marrakesh Framework for Action, because it took place in Marrakesh, a programmatic framework for the entire world to define and improve their adult education systems. Now, each of the macro regions of the world had its own follow-up conference, and the one for Europe just took place. We're in for some luck. So, Nicolas, why is this important for us? Why are CONFINTEA and the Marrakesh Framework for Action important for adult learners? How do they support adult learners?
So yeah, indeed, you already said most of the things, Andrea, setting the stage for about CONFINTEA. So as you said, is an international conference that takes place every 10 or 12 years, and it is the oldest conference for UNESCO conference, meaning that adult learning and education was already very important after the Second World War, because the first CONFINTEA took place in 1949, so quite a long time ago. So why it is important for the community? Because CONFINTEA uses to set the stage for adult learning and education at a global scale for nearly a decade. And every conference ends with the adoption of a framework for action. So during the last CONFINTEA that took place in Morocco in June 2022, more than 140 member states adopted at the end of the conference the Marrakesh Framework for Action. So you can have a look at it. It includes all the commitments made by the member states after the debates that took place during the conference. So it is important because we with this commitment, with this Marrakesh Framework for Action, we are creating a global dynamic in favor of adult learning and education. And what is more important is that with this Marrakesh Framework for Action, UIL has to put in place a monitoring process, meaning we have to measure, to assess the progress made by member states towards their commitments. So in a few words, we are making them accountable for what they said. So this is mainly why it is so important for the community.
This is great. It's more work for you, but it's some welcome work. And make sure to have a look at the Marrakesh Framework for Action, because it's really progressive and innovative in its approach. But I have to ask you, what is the state of play for Europe at the moment? Where is Europe standing?
Well, Europe is quite a specific creature if we have a global scale, because with the European Union, there is a specific regional dynamic, which is very good. And you can see it, of course, this year with the Year of Skills that brings very important and passionating debates on the continent. But still, Europe has a specific challenges and issues. If we look at the data in 2022, even if the participation of adults in learnings is about 12%, which is an increase compared to 2020, we still have a lot of discrepancy between between different member states. So we are in a situation where the countries where the European Union itself are very in favor of pushing for more adult learning and education, but we still have obstacles to make it really happen, to make this rate of participation really increasing. Maybe just a few words. So this participation rate is quite good in comparison with other regions, but still can be improved. And we also can highlight some of the other obstacles. One is that the learning opportunities are still not very well advertised in general, even if we are making efforts to make bridges between non-formal education and formal education, if the community is more professionalized than before, still the rights for education for adults is not well advertised so far. This is why we are advocating for a right to lifelong learning to be really put in place. And also the incentives for lifelong learning, what adults can gain for going into learning opportunities are not well established so far, and still some efforts have to be done. And maybe two last points. One about the public funding. It was a very passionate debate during CONFINTEA to be able to define a threshold that countries on which countries could agree regarding the public spending in adult learning and education. And the last challenge, from my perspective, is more about the recognition of the skills of adult educators. We still need a kind of acknowledgement about their skills and professionalization. And one example is the difficulty we have to find a space for adult educators within the ISCAID. This scale that acknowledge the background and the skills needed to have some specific occupations. And if it's quite clear for teachers in formal education, for adult learning and education, we are still fighting for making it very obvious and recognized.
Happy to find alongside UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning in this effort. And last month we had the follow-up conference for Europe. That was a very largely participated one, I have to say, and we were happy to take part in the process as well with you guys. But can you tell us a little bit more? What are the conclusions and the step forward for Europe?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thanks a lot for your support during this conference, and we had indeed a quite high participation rate. So as we expected, a lot of focus was put on upskilling and reskilling by member states. This is clearly one of the key elements they want to keep from adult learning and education. But we were very happy also to see that there is a growing interest in the role of adult learning and education for citizenship and for climate action as well. Meaning that what we took as a weakness for adult learning and education before, meaning adult learning and education is very learner-centered, is very flexible, is not always very well structured or organized. Now it becomes a kind of asset, and countries can recognize it and are willing or happy to promote this new way of learning. And what thing we can take away from this conference is a call for more collaboration between stakeholders, and more particularly between state actors, civil society, and private sector as well, because as you know, they are also responsible for some parts of adult learning and education. And as part of the follow-up, so our mandate at the UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning is to follow up on the commitments made by the member states. So we will engage more with the European Union itself and with member states in order to all agree on a monitoring framework for the Marrakesh Framework for Action. So we are putting in place indicators and targets, and we will try to embark everybody into this journey, because it will be a long journey, a 10, 12 years journey, and we will do a midterm review in 2028 for Europe. So we will see what is the status in Europe regarding these commitments. And one last thing I would like to mention, thanks to this new monitoring framework, we will be able now to publish regional and national profiles. So we will offer the possibility of everybody to see if the countries and the regions also are meeting their commitments.
Very happy to join you in your role as watchdogs. As civil society, we're perhaps more flexible than you guys and can really voice our concerns. And speaking of stakeholders, I have one last question for you, Nicolas. How do you plan to follow up on this conference in the EU context? And most of all, what can educators do to support you? Or what can the EPALE community do to support you in this endeavor?
Yeah, thanks. So as I mentioned already, so we will have this monitoring framework in place and this midterm review. And about the question what the community can do for this, I would more turn this question around, saying what, and asking the question, what can I do for you more in this context of the Marrakesh Framework for Action? But still, if you want to support and to join us in this global advocacy and regional advocacy for adult learning and education, one thing I could ask for is please make noise about what you are doing, share good practices, so we can take them as good examples and scale them at a national or regional level. And for this, of course, EPALE is a perfect network that will help us, because EPALE and Lifelong Learning are our partners that will help us to advocate more for adult learning and education.
Thank you very much, Nicolas. There was a perfect ending, and definitely EPALE is the right place to go fish out some best practices in the sector. So thank you once again for being with us, Nicolas.
My pleasure, please.
And I guess this brings us to the end of this episode. I just wanted to thank you for tuning in, for listening to this episode. And as always, these episodes are still available on YouTube, on EPALE's channel. And I think I only have to give you a meeting for the last newscast of the year on the 4th of December, always at midday, airing live for you. You will have some season's greetings from the EPALE community. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next month.